I'm very excited today to have Sydney as my guest. And Sydney is a sophomore at the University of South Carolina. Full disclosure, we have not met until today. Sydney's on the pre-dental path at the University of South Carolina. I've got a resume in front of me. I'm super impressed with everything she's done already in the short time that she's been at school. But this is a different episode from what you've heard before. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to interview students that are going on service learning trips before they go on the trip and then after. So this is going to be a unique experience. I'm going to talk to Sydney for a little bit today, and then we're going to capture her when she comes back from her trip. And she's going to be going to Mexico in December. So I'm going to talk to her a little bit about her plans for the trip. And then we're going to catch up to her, hopefully within the week or two after she gets back, and see if the trip met her expectations. So a unique, different podcast, and she's my first, so bear with me, Sydney, and I'm excited to have you here today. So Sydney, just tell us a little bit about yourself. First off, where you're from, what is your major, and what are your future healthcare plans?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be doing this and very excited to be your first. I'm from originally Glastonbury, Connecticut. Then I traveled down to Columbia, South Carolina for school. I'm a biology major with a double minor in business administration and Russian. And my dream is to someday end up in dental school and someday become a dentist.
Well, Sydney, that's a unique path to be a biology major and have Russian minor. Tell us about that Russian minor, because that kind of stands out.
Yeah, so my entire life I've loved learning new languages. I'm proficient in both Russian and Spanish, but Russian just kind of stuck. As much as I lack having Russian people to speak with in my family, I just somehow always find them out in whether it's Columbia or in Connecticut, and I'm always connecting with people that I can practice Russian with. And I've just always loved being able to connect with somebody and make them feel more comfortable by speaking their native language. And so that's just been something I'm super passionate about. And as much as it might not be entirely applicable to my future in dentistry, that's not something I'm willing to give up yet. So I'm keeping up.
Hey, I would say never. You never know. I mean,
Hmm.
that's great that you're actually trilingual. You have the Russian and the Spanish, and of course English. Because this is a service learning trip, Sydney, tell us a little bit about your involvement in service, maybe at home in Connecticut or even at the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, of course. All throughout middle school and high school, I did mission trips, nothing medical related, but little mission trips to Boston, Maine, New York. And I've just loved seeing the effect I can have on communities. And then leading up to those trips every year, I would do little service events in my community, whether that was a soup drive or helping out with Habitat for Humanity. And so I definitely wanted to continue doing service in college, which is why now I'm a member of Dream Outside the Box, which is an organization that goes and volunteers with the local elementary school every Friday. And I'm also a team leader in Relay for Life, which is an organization that raises money to fight against cancer. And then finally, I just kind of try to help out wherever I can. In October, I did a lot of trunk or treats and little trick or treat events for foster kids and really anyone in the community that was in need of a safe and friendly place to trick or treat. I also just love doing anything from soup kitchens to helping out with animal shelters. I really just try to be all over when it comes to service
Well, it,
in
it,
Colombia.
it sounds like you have a service heart, and we appreciate that. I know you're going to be going on a service learning trip, but I always like to know where that service heart comes from. And sounds like
Hmm.
you've been very involved in service, and that's great. You mentioned that the dream is dental school. What have you done locally to support your interest in that future path in healthcare, which in your is dental school, I believe?
Hmm. Yeah, so this past summer actually was probably the biggest summer for me to flourish in my love of dentistry. I got an internship working as a dental assistant at a local general dentist office. It was super cool. I got to really get hands-on with chairside manner, sterilizing rooms, equipment, discharging patients, greeting patients, pretty much just everything that has to do with running a dental office. And then another part of dentistry that I'm really passionate about is affordable dental care. So, something that I found out about this summer and jumped right into was CT Mission of Mercy, which is a 2-day free dental clinic for anybody in the greater Hartford area that is in need of dental care. They can come in for judgment-free dental care, anything from prosthetics to fillings to just straight cleaning and checkup. It was truly such a rewarding experience. And so that was my first time really giving back to the community in a dental sort of aspect. And so I definitely want to continue doing
Well,
things like
Sydney,
that.
I'm impressed. I mean, you're a sophomore and you've done all this stuff already. I mean, most students that I meet are challenged with trying to get an experience that's related to their future profession, but you've already had a couple of different experiences. That's great. And you still have
Hmm.
the dream of dental school, is that correct?
Yeah,
Good,
definitely.
good for you. Well, I hope this trip's going to help cement that for you and hopefully
Hmm.
confirm that's what you
That
want to
is the
do.
goal.
So, speaking of the trip, what initially motivated you to sign up for this particular service learning trip?
Yeah, I see a lot of things on social media, actually. I've had some friends, more so on the med school track rather than the dental school track, go and do these ISL trips, and they just looked so amazing and rewarding. And like I said before, I've had experience with regular mission trips with soup kitchens and building houses, but I just thought when this opportunity was presented in front of me, I thought, gosh, I have to hop on this. Like it is just combining my love of mission and then my passion with dentistry. And so I just knew that I had to get on this trip. And so I'm very excited that this opportunity did present itself.
Now, Sydney, was that a hard decision to sign up for the trip? I mean, you're all of what, 19, I guess, and you're traveling out of
Hmm.
the country. Was it difficult for you and or your parents to make this decision?
Yeah, it was definitely not the easiest decision. Like I said, I've done other mission trips, but they've all been in the Northeast, close to home, with usually my parents would accompany me. My dad was big on going on these trips with me. So this is my first not only international service trip, but also my first time going on a trip like this alone. And so my parents definitely did have some concerns, but ISL makes it very clear on their website that they're dedicated to safety, which definitely makes me and my family feel a lot better. And honestly, it was up to me, my parents said, and I really just wanted to throw myself into it. And so I decided, as much as it might be scary, I don't have anybody in my family coming with me. I don't have any of my best friends coming with me. I still am just very excited to go, and I know I'll make a ton of friends on the way.
Well, kudos to your parents for, supporting you and allowing you to make that decision. And yes, it is safe. I've done 15 years of these medical mission trips, and I've had to talk to many parents over the years to allay their anxieties. You're not unique
Hmm.
in that we've had many situations in the past where parents will call me and say, Dr. Hickey, is it going to be okay for my son or my daughter? So it's normal for them to be a little worried about you, but good for
Hmm.
you for making the decision. Do you feel like you're stepping out of your comfort zone to do this somewhat?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, in my head, I think, oh, it's so easy. I love service. I love speaking foreign languages and connecting with others. But it's when you actually decide to take the leap of faith and hop on that plane that takes you to Phoenix, Arizona, that I'm like, wow, this is really setting in. And like I said, usually I have somebody, one of my best friends, to just tag along with me, but truly, I haven't. I don't have any of my very best friends with me, but the group that we're going on this trip with, we're doing various team bonding things. So I know that I'll make best friends in no time.
Well, guess what? When you go in country, you will bond like you could never imagine. And that's been my experience after 15 years of doing those trips. I've taken many students over the years that kind of sort of maybe knew each other a little bit from class, but not that well. By the end of the trip, you're best friends. So it's an
Hmm.
amazing. I'm excited for you. Do you have any expectations about the country or its healthcare system, and what do you hope to learn professionally and personally?
I mean, my biggest expectation for this trip is that my love of dentistry and my passion for helping others in the dental field just grows. I've heard a little bit about the dental healthcare system in Mexico, and we're definitely planning to learn more leading up to the trip and while we're there. I overall just really want to learn how to treat others. I feel like a lot of people get stuck in the headspace of this is the procedure and this is what we have to do, but there's such an emotional aspect to dentistry. So I really just feel like this trip will be super rewarding in the sense that I'll be able to connect with others and help other people that maybe I don't see every day or interact with every day. It's not every day that you get to speak in
Right.
medical Spanish terminology to help somebody get dental care. So
Have you had to
that'll
use
be
any,
exciting.
I'm sorry, have you had to use any medical Spanish before?
No, but actually, when I was at the CT Mission of Mercy free dental clinic, somebody on the walkie-talkie said, "We need a Russian speaking person to the front."
Wow.
And I I started to sweat. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if there's anybody else that speaks Russian." And they said it again, and I was like, "Oh gosh, it has to be me." So I go to the front, and I've never learned any sort of Russian medical terminology in my life, but I led this super sweet Russian couple that did not speak a lick of English through medical triage, leading up to the procedure, a tooth extraction for the wife, and post care, explaining that she has to rinse out the pocket with salt water. It was a lot of Google Translate and just trying to use the words that I knew. But that was like one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had because truly there was nobody else that knew Russian. And so even though I wasn't the best medical person to translate, it was definitely super rewarding. And so I definitely want to use that and brush up on my Spanish before I go so I can
Well,
be prepared.
well, no, as you know, they will have interpreters for you. And we do encourage you to practice Spanish as much as you can. So
Hmm.
in the beginning, my experience has been students are a little hesitant. By the end of the week, they're flying with their Spanish. So and the people are very appreciative that you speak their language. So
Hmm.
I'm sure you're gonna have the same experience in the Spanish language as you did in the Russian language and that you just
Yeah.
described. Well, good for you. What do you hope to get out of this experience that's going to help you in the future? And how do you how do you or do you believe that what you're doing in Mexico on this trip is going to help the local community?
Oh, definitely, 100%. I feel like with these trips, my biggest thing is that I not only want to learn a ton, but I also want to teach a ton.
Mm.
I feel like with trips with these kind of small, tight-knit groups, everybody's constantly learning and teaching all at the same time. So if I can even just help one person, I feel like I will feel accomplished. One of the most beautiful parts of dentistry is that we make people smile. I
Mm.
mean, I always say to my friends and my family, like, what other profession do you get paid to watch people smile? And so if I can even have one patient walk out of our clinic smiling, I would have felt that I left a positive impact on this community. And yeah, felt that this trip was a success.
I think you're going to be creating lots of smiles on this experience, and I'm glad you brought up teaching, Sydney. One thing I found over 15 years of doing the service learning trips is about a week or two after we get back, a lot of the students are kind of despondent. The medicines we prescribe and the treatments we prescribe have all run out, and it's 2 weeks later, and they wonder aloud, you know, are the people back in the same situation or condition as before? And I said, no, they're not. And they're not because you help to educate them how to take care of their condition. So I'm glad you shared teaching because that's the best part of what this experience is going to be like, in addition to you learning new things, of course, but the fact that you're going to be able to educate the people on how to care for themselves. In your case, dental, you know, speaking more about proper nutrition, proper dental hygiene, flossing, brushing teeth, etc., where maybe they've never had anyone educate them on how to properly floss or brush. You're going to walk away from this trip knowing that you helped to educate a lot of people, and that's pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm super excited for that
Are
aspect.
you familiar, Sydney, with the term scope of practice? And if so, how will you ensure that you will not perform any tasks which you're not trained for or licensed for when you're on this trip?
Yeah, I'm uniquely situated. I feel that I am a licensed dental assistant and I've practiced as one. I have a ton of experience with giving radiographs and assisting chairside. However, with that being said, as much as I'm super eager to put all of my talents to use, I would never do something without proper direction. I obviously am putting all of my trust in the ISL staff, and whether they want me to give an x-ray or simply take somebody's blood pressure, I am eager to do genuinely anything on this trip. And so while I do bring my unique skill set and the things in my toolbox, I obviously would never do anything without being directly told. And I would never do something that a patient doesn't feel comfortable with, that I don't feel comfortable with, or that the ISL staff does not feel comfortable with me doing.
You sound very well prepared, Sydney.
Oh, thank
I,
you.
I think I think you're going to be stepping up and teaching quite a lot. I mean, your Spanish skill sets, your dental experience are all going to help your peers that may not have the same experiences as you do. So that's great that you have that, and great that you're so willing to help others on your team as well as the patient population, of course. Any
Mhm.
concerns about your accommodations, food or water? People are always worried when they travel abroad. Am I going to get sick or is everything safe?
I'm a pretty avid traveler. I've been to Mexico before. I've been to various international trips. And so I'd like to think that I'm pretty well versed with different cultures. And I'm very much not a picky person when it comes to food. I'll pretty much try anything. And so whether it's spicy or salty
Mhm.
or something exotic that I've never even heard of, I always like to try everything once because you can't knock it till you try it.
Well,
So, um,
as you mentioned earlier, ISL has put a lot of safety barriers in place for your trip, as well as when it comes to food, they make sure that where you eat is proper food, and they have
mhm,
separate water that's set aside because when you're only going for a short term, we don't want you to get sick. And every now and then people will get traveler's diarrhea. I mean that can happen anywhere and everywhere in the world for that
mhm,
matter. But as long as you take the proper precautions, eat what you're supposed to, and don't eat what you're not supposed to, then you should be fine.
mhm.
Anything special that you had to pack for this trip, or where I don't even know? Are you guys taking any supplies down or donations or anything?
Yeah, so our pre-dental fraternity, Delta Sigma, we did a little donations drive for anything from medical masks to gloves to random stethoscopes if anybody had them. And so we were responsible for bringing, obviously, the traditional things such as toiletries and clothes. In addition to that, scrubs for our clinic days. And then, yeah, we're just honestly reaching out to the community and different medical organizations on campus for things such as stethoscopes and different medical supplies. But we are not personally responsible. I don't have to go out and buy all these different medical equipment for myself, which I'm very grateful for. We're just kind of coming together as a USC community to help us bring the correct supplies on our trip.
Well, good for you. Speaking of bringing supplies, were finances an issue on the trip? Because having done this for 15 years, I've there's never enough scholarships, to go around,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And was that a challenge for you as far as make or break whether you went on the trip or not?
Yeah, my parents, I'm lucky enough to have parents that really urge me to do things such as this. They really want me to see the world, experience different cultures, do what I'm passionate about, which is service and dentistry. However, I definitely was not in a position to take on the finances of a trip like this just by myself. So I did apply to various scholarships. I've heard back from most of them with all good things. So I'm very lucky that USC and ISL both have great funding for me, but nonetheless, I'm still able to go on the trip despite some financial hiccups. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm able to go on the trip, so I'm very excited about that.
One last thing, if you don't mind, because we're going to speak after you come back from the trip. Just tell me, I mean, at this phase, you're what, 3 weeks out? Is that right, roughly?
Yeah, just about.
So you're signed up for the trip, you've got your flight, you have the experience, you know some of the people. What are you feeling 3 weeks out?
I'm feeling excitement a little bit, kind of like I know what I'm getting into. We have an itinerary set, yet at the same time, anything can happen. And so I'm definitely a tiny bit nervous, but overall just super excited. I'm excited to just kind of get my hands on all of these experiences and kind of step out of this comfort zone and go to Mexico and do what I'm passionate about. So the overarching emotion would definitely be excitement.
Well, you've got the right attitude. I appreciate the excitement. There's probably a little nervousness in there too. I mean, flying, mom and dad aren't going to be along. You'll have friends. It'll become even better friends. ISL will become like family when you're down there, which is kind of cool. So I'm excited having done this many, many times. I know it's coming for you. And, I always say be open to as many opportunities as possible. I have had students come with me on my trips that were pre-med only to look over the sheets at the dental clinic and switch to dental. So never say never when it comes to what your future path is. But if dental is what you want to do, it sounds like you're already doing it in the community and in the work environment. That's fantastic. I'm hoping this trip will confirm for you, and we'll find out when you get back. Is this something that you really want to do? So I do thank you today, Sydney, for your time. I didn't want to take up a lot of your time, but we just wanted to get to know you initially, and then we look forward to seeing you or talking to you, I guess, when you get back. Any last things you want to share before we sign off for today?
No, I'm excited to talk again in 3 to 4 weeks. Thanks for having me.
Been my pleasure. Thank you. Well, hey guys, this is Dr. H and Sydney, and it's been 5 weeks now, I believe, since we last spoke with Sydney. And this is a very unique podcast in that I wanted to capture the excitement of someone before they went on an ISL trip and then, of course, afterwards. This is the second half of that podcast. And again, we're talking with Sid. Sydney has been on a service learning trip to Mexico and want to find out if the expectations that she had before the trip were met. And Sydney, if you could just share with us a little bit about your experience, the size of your team cohort, exactly where you went, and bring us all up to date on what that experience was like. And I know that your experience was right before the holidays, so I'm sure we're anxious to hear all of your experiences.
Yeah, so we had about a group of 10 people from USC go down to Puerto Peñasco, Mexico, and we were there for a week. It was right before Christmas, which actually was really great to be giving back to a community right around the season of giving.
Is being your first experience, do you feel that was a good time? I mean, right before the holidays, was there a lot of celebrations going on at that time?
I would say, yeah, this was a really great time to go on the trip. Something that really stuck out to me is on the Sunday of our trip, we all went to church down in Mexico, and it was really cool to just kind of go to a bilingual service and to see the way that they celebrate the holiday because it's obviously the same holiday, but they celebrate it a little bit differently than up here. So I just thought that was an extra little thing. I love the season of Christmas. That's one of my favorite holidays. So to go down during that time definitely was something extra
Now, you
special.
said that was a bilingual service. I mean, did they spoke in Spanish and in English in the service?
Yeah, so it was sometimes they would speak in Spanish and then somebody on the side would speak in English. Sometimes they would speak in Spanish and there would be words on a projector in English. And so it looked different during different parts of the service, but definitely it was open to people of both languages, which I thought was really cool.
Well, that's exciting. Shared with groups before that when I take my groups to Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Belize, wherever, that normally we have a weekend involved, and I normally take my students who want to go to a local church service, and normally it's all in Spanish. But if you've been brought up in the church system or church, in my case, in the as a Catholic, the service I experience in whatever Latin American country I'm in is very similar to what I have back home, except it's just a different language. And it
Hmm.
makes it kind of easier to follow. So I know your trip was dental themed. Tell us about a typical day on your trip.
Yeah, so what was really great about this trip was that no 2 days looked exactly the same. So we just kind of stayed dynamic throughout the trip. But the 2 days that did stick out were our two clinic days because those were definitely our longest days of work. So our group would wake up in the morning. We always had a homemade breakfast every morning from
Mm.
our host, which was one of the highlights. What a great way to start every morning. And then after breakfast, we'd all load into the van and head over to the clinic. We started the day with checking all the equipment, making sure the suction, the water, the air, everything was working, and we had all the equipment that we needed. Around 8:30, patients would start to show up, and at this point, we'd have a little team meeting and then split off into four groups. And so you'd either be in the meeting and greeting group, the sterilization group, or with one of the two doctors. And so when a patient came in, the meeting group would meet them and interview them a little bit about their dental hygiene in Spanish, take vitals, and then they would wait in the waiting room until one of the two doctors were ready. Then somebody from the doctor's team would come and grab the patient, bring them to the room, and we actually got the opportunity to assist in extractions, cleanings, and fillings. And so when you're on the doctor's team, you got to go grab equipment and different tools that we didn't have in the room. We got to do the suction and just do all the chair side of things, which was really cool. And then the final group, the sterilization group, came in after the patient left. They'd come, take all the dirty tools and equipment out, and then sterilize the room, put the tools in the autoclave and clean accordingly. And then what was really great is every hour or so, we would switch what station we were at. So everybody got to see a little bit of everything, whether that was greeting or chairside service or sterilization. So we definitely kept busy for the whole day. And then after all was said and done, we sterilized everything, closed up shop, headed back to the villa, and then we'd either eat dinner there or eat dinner out, which was a great way to decompress after a long day and just kind of connect with each other and socialize. And then we ended every day with talking about our highs and lows from the day and what we're looking forward to the next day, which was just a great way to ground ourselves and reflect on what we had done that day. So that is a typical day of clinic for us.
That sounds like such a well-rounded experience. I like the fact that everybody rotated through the different areas. So for those that were new to dental practice, you were able to be introduced to dental equipment, all the different
Mm-hmm.
tools that they use in the machines, etc. You were introduced to sterile technique. You're introduced to autoclave system, how you sterilize the instruments also. Then you were introduced to the actual dental procedures, which you were everything from cleaning to extractions to fillings. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow, that's great. Have you had that experience prior to this experience, everything that you just shared with me?
Yeah, so actually, I got the opportunity to work as a dental assistant this summer. So a lot of it was rinse and repeat things that I had seen in the past, which actually was really great because I could kind of work as a leader in my group, especially for the sterilization section of the clinic. It was definitely nice to be able to show people how it works because kind of once you learn the first time, it's really easy to get the hang of it. So to be able to just give people pointers and like to point out different tools that people might not know the name of was really nice to be a helpful hand on the team.
Now, I mean, that's exciting. I like that you mentioned you're part of a team. That's great. Speaking of the team, how was it working with the local doctors that you were working with?
It was really nice. It was definitely different at first, especially with the language barrier, but we always had a translator by our side, so that wasn't too much of an issue. And working with the doctors was truly amazing. Something that stuck out to me was that they really prioritized quality over quantity rather than trying to see as many patients as possible, as sometimes I've seen in the US. They really just try to do the most quality work possible because they want these fillings to last
Mhm.
a very long time. If they're giving free dental care, they want it to last a long time and not have these people need to come back to a dentist in a week or a month or a year. So that was something that I thought was really special, that they really wanted to do quality work rather than see 100 people in a day.
No, I'm glad you shared that, and I do appreciate that quality is more important than quantity. It's also best for the teaching experience. Now, you mentioned free care, so this was a free dental clinic for the patients that were attending. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was.
Now, did you have an age range in there? Was there pediatric as well as adult?
Yeah, I saw an extraction in a boy that was around 10, all the way up to a cleaning on a 50-plus-year-old. So we saw a lot.
Oh, wow. And with the communication issues or challenges, as you noted, you said you had an interpreter. I don't have much experience with dental, but I've heard that the numbering system for the teeth, there's a different system in Latin America
Hmm.
as compared to the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct. And they briefed us about that on our first day of orientation. So we got the confusion done before we even saw patients, which was great.
Okay, good, excellent. And you said you had two physicians. Did they have dental assistants also, or was it just the two dentists that you worked with?
No, actually, something that was really admirable about working with these two dentists and dentistry in Mexico in general is that typically in Mexico, dentists don't have dental
Oh,
assistants, is something that I learned. And so that means that they're doing kind of everything in their everyday office practices. Speaking as somebody that has worked as a dental assistant, I always felt like my hands were full with moving the light to where the doctor wanted it, holding all the tools, suctioning in the patient's mouth. So to then come and find out that these doctors are usually working without dental
oh.
assistance and doing the suctioning and the lighting and drilling all at the same time was something that was incredibly impressive to me. Obviously, we got to work as dental assistants because they had the resources and they had us, but usually in the dental offices in Mexico, they just don't have those resources. So the doctors have to learn how to do everything themselves, which was really incredible to me.
Well, that's great. That was my next question, actually, is, comparing the healthcare systems. So you did a really good job of doing that. And so you were a bonus for them because they're not used to having somebody assisting them. So were they able to educate as well while you were assisting them as to what they were doing?
They would walk us through the entire procedure, which was obviously really helpful for us, but also for people getting the procedure done. So they would speak in Spanish so the interpreter could hear and the patient could hear. And then the interpreter or the doctor would then translate to English. So they really took time to explain everything they were doing, why they were doing it, why they were using a specific tool, which I really appreciated because they could have just gone in and done their day's work, but they really took the time to appreciate us being there and explaining all the intricacies of each procedure.
So since you've worked as a dental assistant in the United States and you already went down with some knowledge of the tools, as you mentioned, were the tools very similar, like from your previous experience in the United States, or were there things on the table that you had no idea what they were?
Honestly, it was very, very similar, which was kind of surprising to me at first, but it made it a lot easier because I did know the names of all the equipment, but then to translate that into Spanish was a little bit of a difficulty. So it was nice that going into an extraction, I kind of knew the tools that most dentists like. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a difference with preference of tool from dentist to dentist, even within the same country. So there was some differences, and sometimes we would be scrambling to find a specific tool for a specific part of the procedure. But more times than not, we were ready and prepared with tools that we kind of expected the doctor would need.
Could you share with us some of your dental Spanish? What would
Gosh,
common words that you would use when you're interacting with the patient in Spanish in the dental parameters?
well, we'd ask cuántos años en el día limpiarse tus dientes.
Oh,
So, how many times a day do you
oh,
clean your
oh,
teeth?
very good.
And then con paste de los dientes, like with toothpaste or not.
Now, why would you ask with
So,
toothpaste or not? Do some people clean their teeth without
some
toothpaste?
people did not. And a big thing that stood out to me was that a lot of people didn't know what floss was or mouthwash,
Ah.
which I guess could be expected, but I didn't expect at all. So that just comes to show how important education
Well,
is because
I appreciate that. That goes to my next question. What's the difference in dental care, like self-care? So from your
hmm
observation, they weren't as knowledgeable about the need or use of flossing or rinsing. Is that correct?
hmm
Oh, wow.
That's correct, yeah.
And
And another big part of the Mexican culture that was super surprising to me was that they're just more laid back there. And so many people will not go to the dentist or the doctor until they feel physical pain.
mm,
Checkups like that are common in the US are really uncommon there. And it's kind of a mix of the laid back kind of culture of Mexico mixed with how expensive it is to seek medical attention. And so people will rarely, if not never, go to the dentist unless they actually feel physical pain in their mouth, which I thought was a complete shock.
wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's so different from our system here, where you go, what, every 6 months or every year for your cleaning and your
hmm
dental checkups. What about use of X-rays? Did they have X-rays there, or was there a need to do X-rays at all?
We did not use x-rays in the clinic, which was surprising to me, but also another impressive thing. All the fillings I've ever seen done and every extraction I've ever seen done has been accompanied by an x-ray.
Mhm.
So to see dentists doing work without the use of x-rays was honestly super shocking and as well as impressive.
So, with your experience on this trip, how does that change your perspective on dental hygiene or healthcare here in the United States?
Yeah. Going into the trip, I often found myself in the past kind of looking at the healthcare system in the US kind of in a negative light. I'll look at and compare it to other countries that you can have a baby for free or go have a certain surgery for free. And I look at the US where to just have a child is tens of thousands of dollars. And so I kind of saw the US healthcare system in a negative light going into this trip. But then going to a place where the healthcare system is so riddled with poverty and a lack of education, it gave me kind of a new appreciation for the US healthcare system because I'm somebody that has full access to floss and mouthwash, and I go to checkups without thinking twice about it. So definitely it's changed my perspective because I'm so lucky to have the healthcare system that I do have. So while I do believe that every system, every healthcare system can improve, I definitely feel a newfound sense of gratitude for the US healthcare system.
I'm so glad you shared that because I've shared with anyone that'll listen that we tend sometimes to bitch, moan, and complain about what we have here until we go somewhere else. And then we realize
hmm
how fortunate we are to have what we have. So that's great that you made that observation. How has this influenced your future career goals? I mean, this trip, I mean, this is a unique opportunity that you had with international service learning. You've already had experience in the United States as a dental assistant, but how has this opportunity to step into an underserved population in another country affected what you want to do as a future dentist?
Yeah, I mean, this experience, I kind of used it as dipping my toes into the water, but now I definitely just want to dive right in.
Mm.
I mean, this has totally reaffirmed my passion for dentistry. I loved seeing all the patients walk out of the clinic smiling proudly, whereas when they were walking in, they were embarrassed to be showing their teeth. And one of the things that stuck out to me on this trip was definitely the limiting factor were the two dentists. If we had more dentists, we could have seen more
Mm.
patients just because we do focus on quality over quantity. And so to then someday in the future, hopefully when I am the dentist, to go back to an underserved community and be the dentist and lead these groups of undergrads such as myself would be a total full circle and very fulfilling experience. So I definitely hope to continue serving and affordable dental care is the top of my passion now.
Well, I appreciate you also sharing that, Sydney. I know one of the four previous students I had, Katie, who I've interviewed for a podcast. She's now an OBGYN. She's made it a part of her regular practice now that she has Hispanic patients because she's learned Spanish and she's conversational at this point in time. But it was because of her trips. She went on two trips with me, I think one to Belize and one to Nicaragua. But because of dealing with underserved people, at that early juncture in her career, and she was the same age as you at that time, it made such a distinct impression on her that she wanted to make sure that she did extend her future patients the opportunity to come to her clinic where Spanish would be spoken and they would feel more comfortable. So it's nice to hear that you want to not only return, but hopefully in the future somehow promote or say, I don't know what the term would be, hablamos español, we speak Spanish, whether it's yourself or somebody else in your practice. For students that are kind of on the edge and trying to decide whether a dental experience with international source learning would really help them. What do you say to those people that are kind of on the fence and maybe a little hesitant or a little afraid? I don't have experience I've never been out of the country. Will this really benefit me? What do you say to those students?
I say 100% do it. I mean, no matter how well traveled you are, going out of the country without your parents or your friends is going to be a scary thing. But it was 100% worth it for me. I think that this will 100% be a cornerstone of my future career in dentistry. And no matter if you speak Spanish or don't speak Spanish, or you've been out of the country or not, I think everybody can equally benefit from this. And even if you go into the trip like me, not being very best friends with anybody on the trip, you will definitely leave as a tightly knit group and have experiences that you can talk about for the rest of your
And
life.
that is one of the unique parts of the trip. Having done 15 plus years of doing the trips, I see students going on these trips that kind of sort of know each other a little bit, but it is amazing how you bond when you go to another place and you come back best friends. And it's a unique opportunity that you shared that's never going to go away, and that solidifies relationships. Now, the dentist trip aside, how was the cultural experience, like the meals and the people? Were there any issues or challenges? And what were the positives?
Yeah, I honestly did not feel a huge culture shock. I love traveling and I love learning about new cultures and experiencing new cultures. Additionally, I was lucky enough that I still had Spanish in me from high school. I was a little bit unconfident that I would still have it in me, but once you're immersed, it all comes back. So I was really lucky that I could speak in the natives' language and I could order for myself at restaurants and interview people in Spanish without problem. However, even if somebody doesn't know Spanish, I had multiple people in my group who never took a lick of Spanish, and they were so excited to learn new phrases and things that they could say at restaurants if they want to order extra spicy or no
Yeah.
spicy. So I thought that was really awesome that even though they had never taken Spanish, they weren't intimidated by that, but rather excited at the challenge.
Since the experience is so new and it was what 3 4 weeks ago, can you recall any specific patient or community member or anything that left an impression on you?
Yeah, definitely. A patient that sticks out to me was a man I met when we went to a local rehabilitation center in the community, and I was giving him an exam and talking to him about his oral hygiene practices. And I started off in Spanish, and then after about 20 seconds, he said, "Oh, I speak English, by the way." And so then the rest of my group and I, we just like let out a sigh, and then we started small talking since we had this unique opportunity since most of the patients spoke Spanish. And he was asking us about our studies, where we were studying, what we were studying, and come to find out that at one point in his life, he was studying at Duke University before being deported to Mexico, and then found himself in just kind of a lull of life, got involved in drugs, and then now found himself at a rehab center. And rather than being super negative or having hatred towards us as Americans or academics, he was just so full of light and positivity. He kept telling us, stay in school, keep doing what you're doing. And not only positivity towards us, but towards himself. He told us about his goals that he's so positive he's going to reach. He told us he was going to get out of the rehab center, move somewhere else in Mexico, build a life for him and his family. So I just thought that that was super inspiring to see somebody that's been through such a hard time and so much turmoil at such a young age to then have so much positivity towards us and towards his own life. So that is definitely an interaction that'll stick with me for a long time.
It is amazing when you can be inspired when you least expect it. And it's so nice that that person came into your life and was so inspirational. Did you, with the patients that did come into the clinic, from the children to the adults, excuse me, did you see much poverty or were you able to see much poverty in the community where you were?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the biggest challenges when first coming into Peñasco, was that kind of first drive around and seeing something that really bothers me is litter, and just seeing all of the litter on the ground and seeing just the state of poverty that the community was in was something that I found really challenging to stay positive about, because I just thought to myself, how do these people live like this? And how can people be happy? But then coming and interacting with people in the community and seeing how happy and social and friendly they are, it really put into perspective my entire life and everything I'm so fortunate to have.
Well, Sydney, just like that gentleman that you met at the rehab center was an inspiration to you, you too are going to be an inspiration to people that are listening to you because you're so positive about the experience. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences. I know we could go on and on and on, but I think those that are listening can tell that it was a very positive experience. Sounds like it was a very well-rounded experience. Sounds like you had a good cultural experience. You were able to use your medical Spanish. For those that did know medical Spanish, they learned it. Well, great. Thanks again for being such a great ambassador for international service learning. And I wish you the best in the future. And I'm sure down the road that you will follow through on your hopes and expectations to once again serve an underserved population. Hopefully more so before you graduate from the University of South Carolina. But if not, once you're down the road in your individual practice.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on the podcast and just being such a light in ISL. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. I want to sincerely thank our guest, Sydney, for her willingness to join us on the International Service Learning Experiential Medical Education podcast. But most importantly, I want to thank Sydney for the passion that she has shared with us, both before and after her international service trip. After interviewing Sydney, I have no doubt that her future patients will leave her office with a huge smile on their face, as she is a true patient advocate who will be making a huge difference in the lives of others.